Hello everyone, welcome to a new video. Yes, today I will be sharing my entire net worth at the age of 21, and the reason I'm doing this video is basically because I will be very soon turning 22 and I would like to from now onwards keep doing kind of a review of my net worth every year, and this way I have it recorded somewhere and I can track my progress over time. And also I'm hoping that maybe this video can be a source of motivation or inspiration for some of you watching who might be in a similar situation and also aiming to become financially independent. Finally, just to leave this very clear, this video is not aimed to be pretentious in any way. I'm just sharing this mostly for myself, as I said. For some of you watching, the amount I will be sharing will seem like a lot of money. For others, it might seem like nothing. But I guess that it will all depend on your personal situation and also the country in which you live in. But with that said, and after you give this video a like, let's go and check the numbers as well as a bit of explanation on how have I managed to reach the point I am at right now. Alright, so the way the video will be distributed will be that we'll first go and see how much money do I have in different types of assets, and afterwards we'll be adding all of them together to see which is my current real net worth. First of all, we will start with the most obvious and the one that probably pops up in our head the first when we first think of net worth, which are cash and cash equivalents. And on that, I currently have 9,620 euros distributed across different bank accounts. Also, we could add the 20 euros extra that I have in real cash in my wallet because I hate to carry cash and I actually never use it, so probably these 20 euros have been in my wallet for at least the past 6 months. And finally, I have also added in this section the 1,200 euros that I left as a deposit for the apartment that I'm currently living at. And I know that this is not really liquid as cash, but I really did not know in which section to put it, so I just left it here. Altogether, my total cash and equivalents stands at 10,840 likes. Oh, sorry, I meant euros. Getting to so many likes would only be at the level of finance gods such as Graham Stephan or Andrew Jig, but you can help me to hopefully get closer to that by hitting the like button. Thank you. Next, we will be looking at the amount of money I have in stocks as well as in stock brokerages, which in my case I use the Hero as well as Charles Schwab. And it does not mean that all the money that I will be mentioning now is currently invested in the market, as I also have some cash sitting in the sidelines inside the brokers in case there is a correction in the market to then add more to my positions. But yeah, overall on it I have in total a current value of 15,850 euros. Again though, it is important to remember that this is the current value, but as you know, most of it is invested in stocks, which means that the price keeps fluctuating. So maybe today it's worth this much, but then in 2 days the stock market drops 10% and I have 1,500 euros less, or it also goes up and I have more money. Afterwards, I could not forget about cryptocurrencies, and on this, and I would say that in general, in everything, I have been very conservative and gone on the lower end. And for instance, in cryptocurrencies, I did not include all the money that I initially invested in Quailian. That, by the way, if you do not know what Quailian is, I will leave a video here above for you and also down below in the description, in which I essentially explain how the platform works and what it is, as I'm really not expecting to get this money back. But essentially we have that liquid in cryptos at the moment. I have in total 2,619.34 euros, and the same as it happens with stocks, but here even more. Cryptos are super volatile and it could very well be that in 2 days my portfolio is worth 20% less or 20% more, so this is also something to take into account. Finally, the last thing that I consider to calculate my net worth is my car, which is a Fiat Panda. And I know that here it might be a bit controversial because some people think that it's a liability, and it is actually a liability because it costs money to maintain and it also depreciates very quickly. But it is also true that if I wanted to sell it right now, I could get some money for it. More concretely on it, I consider the current value of 3,000 euros because I own half of the car and I assume that I could sell the car for 6,000 euros. It could be again a bit more, a bit less, but I think that it's a pretty good approximation. Moreover, I would also like to point out that I have been very conservative as well, and I have not added for instance, my 2 bikes, my computer, my camera, my skis, my snowboard, that I could all of these sell it and get some money for it. Anyways, now comes the moment in which we need to add all of the figures that I have been mentioning of the different categories in order to see which is my current net worth, and the total is of 32,309 euros and 34 cents. Honestly, I am very happy and proud of this, but I think that it's essential to add some comments and thoughts on it in order to get a better perspective. Firstly, I must say that although I don't come from a rich family in any way, as my mom is a nurse and my dad is a teacher, they have always supported me economically, which means that essentially I have had very few expenses up until I moved here to Munich. They paid for my university, my computer, and most of my clothes. But of course, if you have parents that support you economically, but then you don't work and earn money on the side, it doesn't really matter, because at the end of the day you will still be left with 0 euros. Okay, maybe you will not be in debt, but you will have no money. And this was certainly not my case, as I consider myself a very hard-working person. In fact, since I was 17 years old, I have always been working on the side of my studies, whether going abroad during the summers or during the course itself. I have been working as a swimming referee, as a waiter, check-in agent, and of course we cannot forget about the extremely badly paid internships. Not only working to get more money, but also working in things that got me closer to the future that I wanted. And now that I'm at 21 years old, I'm working in HR, which is something that I really like. And although I'm not rich in any way, I think that I have a pretty decent salary. And to all of this, if we add the fact that I have been a very cheap person since the moment I was born, and I have not spent my money on too many unnecessary things, this means that I have managed to save a pretty decent amount. Because if you think about it, this 32,309 euros and 34 cents, it's not such a crazy amount if we divide it between the 5 years that I have been somehow working on the side of my studies. I mean, if we do the calculation, we get to a yearly saving of 6,461.87 euros, which is still money, don't get me wrong, but when you have very reduced or almost no expenses, this becomes much more achievable. So summing up, if I have managed to get to the current net worth I have just displayed, it has been thanks to a combination of having parents who supported me economically, a lot of hard work from my side, and also, I would say, a pretty good administration of the money that I was making. Okay, so now I have been giving a bit of context on how have I managed to get to the current net worth and the background of it, but now I would also like to comment a bit on the allocation percentage-wise that I have on the different categories that I mentioned before. Looking at the graph, we see that 33.55% is currently in cash and equivalents, which I think that it is a pretty good amount. Moreover, we should also add that I have an additional 2,000 euros inside the brokerages that are still in cash, ready to invest, but they are still in cash. So overall, I would say that I have around 1/3 of my money in cash or equivalents, which gives me a good enough cushion of money that can help me cover for almost any unexpected expense that comes up. And this way I can sleep well at night and not have to worry about being able or not to pay for the upcoming expenses. Moving next, we have the crypto investments, which represent only an 8%, which I think that it is a good enough allocation, and I personally would not want to put more than that, as it is a very speculative and risky investment. Moving on to my largest position, we find stocks, which represent 49.06% of my total net worth. And on this, although it seems like a lot, it is actually distributed across 37 different companies, which also limits a lot the risk, as the portfolio is pretty well diversified. And actually, I expect the percentage of my money allocated in stocks to only increase in the upcoming years. Finally, I have 9.29% in other assets, which, as we already said before, we are here only including the car. On this, I also must say that I'm not planning on buying any kind of physical assets in the next years to come, neither another car or a house, as I'm also planning on continuing to rent places for at least the next 10 years to come. Actually, I think that it's much better, at least in my current situation, to be renting than buying a home. I could do a video more detailed on that, and maybe I will do that, but for now we will leave it with this. In any case, that was it for today. This is my current net worth at the age of 21. And just to have it recorded as well, my objective for the next year, when I do the next update on my net worth, will be to reach 50,000 euros I know that it's ambitious, at least in my situation, but let's see if I manage to achieve that. If you enjoyed the video, then please make sure to give it a like, subscribe to the channel if you're not yet subscribed, and as always, see you next time.